monetization. Actually, not hard for us to understand what we wanted to do. Our monetization strategy and thinking has matured, but it's not different than when we started. We had to overcome, like, investors, when they think about the self-improvement space that we're in, they think of it almost like a nonprofit. It's like, oh my God, stay away. Nobody makes any money helping people live up to their full potential. And we have to shake them and say, you are so wrong. Like, we're gonna make so much money and create value for users and customers, like people that are gonna be paying us, in like really amazing ways. And you know, we're building a business model that hasn't existed before. Let us tell you about it. Here's what it is. And then I go into this whole spiel. Here's the spiel. So I'll give you the long version. I'm gonna start out by talking about data and dark data. So I think a good investment thesis is to think about what types of data are dark or still dark. So what I mean by that is, think about location data before Foursquare. Nobody knew where all these individuals were, and then they started checking in, and then you have this like digital like map that's constantly being updated of, oh, these people are everywhere, right? They're at, this person's at this bar, this person goes to this bar with a relative frequency, blah, blah, blah. So Foursquare surfaced dark data and started creating interactions around that data, around location, right? And that data is valuable. Who's it valuable to? It's valuable to restaurants, it's valuable to people. So that was their business, and it was a big business. Facebook, data around like the social graph. Like, it didn't exist before. Think about it. You know, you gotta go back to the world before this stuff, like rewind 10 years. You're my friend, right? Yeah, that's it. There's no like website where like it represents that. Like, I didn't, you know, like maybe some people had Rolodexes where they write down the names of all the people they know. Like, it just didn't exist. Crazy. How did like civilization function? I don't even remember. And then, you know, it's a really simple idea, like, let's have a profile for each person, and then let's start connecting these profiles if they're friends, and then, you know, it just went from there. And now you have the social graph, and you surface this dark data, and now it's very valuable to a lot of people, and they've built a huge business. Google, what are people searching for, right? Knowing what people are searching for is hugely valuable data, because if somebody is doing a Google search for Santa Barbara bed and breakfast, and you're a bed and breakfast in Santa Barbara, and you're on there and you're like, wow, there's like 1,000 people every day searching Santa Barbara bed and breakfast, I should advertise on this. And then you're willing to pay a certain, you know, dollar per keyword determined by the, you know, whatever the market is for those keywords. And all of a sudden, people start showing up at your bed and breakfast, and you're like, this is great. And that's why Google's a big business, right? Because they've surfaced this data around what people are searching for, and they've been providing value to the people searching, and they're providing value to the people who want to access those people that are searching through this ad model. Because they're signaling intent. I want to do something. Ultimately, actually, all of these businesses are valuable because they're signaling intent. If you know somebody's location history, right, it's a pattern that signals that, like, in the future they will probably intend to go to the following places, right, in the following ways, the following times, and get the following things at these places, right? Facebook, you know, if you know that somebody is a, you know, 28-year-old female living in New York who likes the following things, who knows the following people who also like the following things, then, you know, it may signal that she might have an intent to purchase such and such at this time, right? So, I think with Everest, we are surfacing dark data, and it's the most valuable data in the world. If you know all the things that people want to do, and you know all the steps they're taking to do those things, and they're using your tools and community every day to like do these things, write these things down, and they're engaged, you're in an excellent position to suggest products and services that relate to the things that people want to do, and to suggest it in a way that does not feel like and is not advertising. So let me give you an example. If you've got a dream on Everest to become a better tennis player, right? And we know that you're playing tennis about once a week, and you're playing with this person, and you're going to this court, and that the reason why you want to do it is this, and the reason, and you want to like, we start to like get all this really highly structured information about like what you're trying to do and what you're doing. We're in a great position to like go to Wilson, the tennis company, and say like, hey, let's help this person out. Let's let's give them a challenge to learn how to serve like Roger Federer, and like show them a video of Roger and give them some steps to complete. And by the way, say like, hey, here's this challenge, learn how to serve like Roger Federer. Here's this guide to do it. It's awesome. And the person will be like, yeah, I want to do this. This is great. And like, here's our suggested product. Roger uses this racket. Like, if you're a tennis coach in San Francisco, like you want to be able to see how many people like have tennis dreams in San Francisco, and like, do they want to coach, right? So, and it just goes on for every single type of dream. Like, you want to get a pilot's license. Like, can we connect you with the pilot instruction school? You want to, go to Thailand, right? Like, can we suggest flights and things for you to do there, and people for you to go with? Like, there's lots of different ways in which we can create value. That's the long-term monetization strategy. And I think that it's scalable and powerful. And I think that, by the way, like, that basic data lens is like a really good way to actually predict innovations that will come out. So like, here's an example of dark data. What plant is that? What type of plant? Do you know the species? Like, I have no idea. What material is that? Like, there's dark data all around us, right? And like, I'm sure, in the sense that like somebody knows what that is, but we don't know here now. So like, a Google Glass startup that would be cool would be a startup that like says like, that is this type of plant, right? And it has the following characteristics, and like, here's the Wikipedia article on that building, and like, there's data all around us. So we focused on a certain type of data, and I think that the important thing for us is, in all the ways that we monetize, making sure that we have integrity to the user and the user experience. So we think that like the mentality with Facebook and Twitter was, and the mentality in Silicon Valley until recently, and I think it is changing, but nobody's saying it, and I'll say it, which is that, don't worry about monetization, just like get users. And like, if you get users fast enough and like you have enough users, then monetization will work itself out eventually, right? It's a very blasé attitude. I think it's dumb, because I think it ends up creating a certain amount of like moral hazard and a implicit lack of alignment between the user and the company. And I think that the results are things like promoted tweets and Facebook ads that, like, if I could turn off Facebook ads and Twitter ads, I would. It would improve my experience, right? Like, I don't like them. I would like to get to a point with Everest where, you could turn it off if you wanted, turn off all the various monetization channels, and like, you wouldn't, because it would make it a worse product. Like, that every single way that we create value for you is all, could also be a way that we're creating value for that tennis coach, right? Or that brand, but like, it doesn't feel like an ad, because it isn't an ad, it's something else, right? Yeah, and so like, I paint the story. I mean, like, Facebook monetizes right now at $10 per user per year in the US, and Google monetizes at $60 per user per year. And I think the formula is the number of users times the strength of the intent signal that you're getting from the inherent interaction they have with your product. Search is a stronger intent signal than social. Times like the quality of the ad unit itself, right, equals ability to monetize. And I think we can like beat them on all three, right? So I think we can build a big business. You know, in the short term though, we had to be really creative about how, like, we want to break even now. And so, you know, the business model I sort of suggested, which is very Google AdWords-esque, you know, who are all the people in Chicago who care about ice skating, like push this to them, really relies on a, you know, highly scaled user base. So we've actually partnered with a whole bunch of brands, and we're launching something in September, and I can't talk too much about it because we haven't launched it yet, but basically we're going to create these brand pages for, let's just say for Nike, right, for example, and they will, like, you know, all these brands create products, but there's nowhere on the internet for them to show what these products can be used for. Like, here's some shoes, buy them. No, like, here's some shoes, you can do this or that or that or that, and all these things are really exciting. And here are the, you know, the steps you need to take to do these things. And like, here's the suggested product for doing these things, and here's like the guide that we have with, you know, and here's a reward for accepting to do it, and then for completing it, and blah 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 blah. Right? Like, there's that content is super valuable to people, super exciting. And these brands, like, they have people who are passionate about their products who are following them on Facebook and Twitter. Like, I'm really into trail running. I check out Solomon's Twitter page. Like, but they don't have anything, they're not ever telling me things I could do, right? It seems obvious. And so we're charging brands for these brand pages, and they, has nothing to do with how many users we have. It has to do with a way for them to meaningfully engage and monetize their audience. They're bringing us users. These users are accepting these things, using efforts to complete them, and these brands are literally inspiring people to do things in the world, which is an amazing brand marketing story. So like, that's something that we've, you know, we actually tried in version 1 of the product on the iPhone app, and we learned a lot, and now we're relaunching that whole experience on the web, and it's going to be like amazing. So monetization, having a story about monetization instead of saying someday, somehow we'll monetize this, like Snapchat, is like, I think, way better. Because ultimately, Snapchat is a very expensive acquisition, the same way Instagram was, right? Not, I think, until they actually come up with some sort of sustainable long-term business model or thinking, will become a business in my mind.